Well, hello everyone. How are we? Thanks for dropping in for another update on the West trial. We're on day 15 and 16. A lot has happened this week. It's been crazy. We've got the last child that was in the home that's going to testify, or testified yesterday. And then today we had Wanda, who is Trezell's mother, testify. It's going to be very interesting. So let's get to it. So when they ended the So yesterday, they left off, and one of the children was still on the stand. And this is one of the biological child, one of the biological children of Trezell and Jacqueline. And Alexis Torres was questioning him. She is showing a photo of one of the family's dogs, and the child said he remembers the dog. Then Eric Smith, who is the prosecutor, got back up to redirect. And he asked the child if he remembers his dad spanking Orrin or Orson. The child said no. The child has said that he does not really remember Orrin and Orson at all. In the redirect, Smith shows the child a photo, and the child says it's an item that belonged to him and his dad was teaching him self defense, and the item is a stick wrapped in what appears to be tape. Child said his dad did not carry that item. The reason he's bringing that up, guys, is because they were saying the neighbors that lived at the Casa Loma apartment in Bakersfield, that whenever they saw Trezell, he was always carrying some kind of stick with him. Smith was asking the child about his parents' home in Cal City. If I run over any of this and I'm giving you something that was the day before, it's okay. We'll all live, okay? Smith is asking the child about his parents' home in Cal City. The child said Orrin and Orson moved to the home in Cal City with them. Smith asked if Orrin got sick when he lived in Bakersfield, and the child said he remembers Orrin throwing up. This was in the morning. Smith asked what happened to Orrin, and the child said he's not sure. Okay, so this same child is saying he doesn't remember him, but now he's saying he threw up. But again, we're dealing with a little boy, so a little one. So Prosecutor Smith said that the child told police that Orrin's color was fading, and the child said he's not sure what that meant. Color was fading. Then he showed the child some pictures of the inside of the Cal City home, and he shows the child's bedroom. And the little boy said he slept on the top bunk and he believed Orson slept on the bottom. He said he's not sure if it was Orson or Orrin who slept there. He asked the child if he remembers sleeping there in the bunk beds when they first got to the Cal City, and asked if Smith asked if Orrin and Orson went somewhere with Trezell and Jacqueline, and the child said yes, but he doesn't remember where. And then Smith asked about the kids going to their grandma's house in December of 2020, and the child said he doesn't remember who was in the van. The child doesn't remember much about what police asked him back in 2020, and Smith asked the child if he tried to tell the police the truth back then. The child says yes. And they played that recording for him of the police interview back in 2020, and at the time, the little boy was 10. And in the recording, the officer's asking him what happens if he does something wrong, and the child said they get talked to by dad, which makes him sad. In the recording, the child says he knows it's wrong to hurt or kill someone. He says it's against the law and he knows it's wrong. He said he knows it's wrong to help someone hurt or unalive someone else. The child said he was taught it was wrong by his parents, and the officer asked what the child was taught, and he said he was taught it was wrong. It was against the law. It's just wrong to do that. In the recording, the child said Orrin and Orson weren't with them when they got dropped off at their grandma's. He said he doesn't know where Orrin or Orson were taken. He said his parents dropped Orrin and Orson off somewhere weeks earlier. Weeks earlier. In the recording, the child said his parents said Orrin and Orson were being dropped off at their grandparents' house. The child goes back and forth a little in the recording. He says they'd been talking to Orrin and Orson. Then he shakes his head and says they hadn't talked to them. And the child said Orrin and Orson would cry a lot. The child tells the officer in the recording that the boys came to Cal City with them. Then Orrin went to his grandma's. Then Orson. Child says Orrin went to grandma's before they moved. And Smith showed him a picture of the West van, and the child said he doesn't remember what he told the police about who was in the van. Smith asked the child what he meant when he told the police Orrin and Orson went to grandma's, and the child said he probably meant Jacqueline's mom. Now, there's a different interview that's going on at the Jameson Center. I think the Jameson Center is like that's like where the foster kids go, or pre-adoption. The child is being interviewed by a woman. In this recording, the child lists his family members, including Orrin and Orson. And the child said they were staying with their grandmother for winter break. He said his parents dropped them off. The child tells the woman that Orrin and Orson went to go stay with their grandma, Jacqueline's mother. He said he doesn't remember when they went. Then he tells the woman that Orrin and Orson weren't around for Thanksgiving or Halloween. So before October 31st. Very interesting, guys. He said they were around when they moved. Okay, he said they were around when they moved. Okay, so they moved in September. Smith is questioning the boy again, and he asked the boy about a pet in the video when the woman asked the boy if Orrin or Orson were coming back. And in the video, the boy says his parents said they would come back, but they didn't say when they would come back. Smith asked if the boy's parents told the other children that Orrin and Orson were coming back, and the child said no. Smith asked the boy about what he meant by some of his answers, and the child says he's not really sure what he meant. Then Smith went into playing another video recording of him talking to the woman on a different day. The woman asked the child what's happened since the last time they talked, and he said he's been crying because he was taken from his mom and dad. He said he was taken away from his parents because of Orrin and Orson. He told the woman Orson was taken to his grandma's, Maria's, and that Orrin choked in his sleep. What? Choked in his sleep. Okay, I want to stop here because I have a listener, and she thinks that possibly one of the biological children may have hurt Orrin, and that's how all this started. It's a possibility. Not saying it's not, but in the recording, he said they didn't find out until the morning. He said his parents told him because he was the oldest. He said his parents asked him if they should keep it a secret, and he said they told him that if anyone found out, they would be taken away. He choked in his sleep. The child said his parents were crying when it happened. The child said his parents would ask him if they should call an ambulance, and he said no because they told him he would get taken away. The woman asked the child how he knew Orrin was unalive, and the child tells her that he touched his body and it was cold. The child tells the woman in the recording that Orson went to Cal City with them. The child said he was there for 4 days before his parents took Orson to Grandma Maria's. I bet he kept asking where Orrin was, because they were like twins. They were always together. The child told the woman that Orrin and Orson cried a lot. She asked what would happen when they cried. The child said his parents would tell them to be quiet and smack them. He said they would use their hands to smack them on the cheek. He also tells the woman that sometimes they would get smacked by the paddle stick. The child said on the night that Orrin was unalived, Orson was eating with his mouth open, so his parents blended his food and put it in a bottle for Orson. The child said Orrin stole the bottle from Orson. In the recording, the child said when his parents saw Orrin steal Orson's bottle, his parents told Orson to punch Orrin. Oh my gosh. The child said he didn't see this because he was in his room. The woman leaves the room while the child draws the layout of the bedroom where he and all his brothers slept. The child said Orrin's bed was put in Devin and Damien's room because his parents said Orrin is coming back. The child said when his parents would say that, he just wouldn't say a thing. The woman asked the child how Orson acted when Orrin was gone, and the child said he didn't know if they were that close. He said he didn't remember Orson ever crying about it. So then she asked him how it made his parents feel when Orson was crying, and he said it would annoy all of them. And he said he didn't really think about it when he was asked about moving to Cal City. And the child said that Orson was crying about it. And he said that his parents told him it was because they were in a new place. The woman then asked him, "Well, do you understand what is happening?" And he said after they all talked to the police, they were brought back to Jameson Center. Okay, so Jameson Center is where they take the kids in when they take them away from the parents. I forget the technical term. I'm sure somebody's gonna blow me up in chat about what they call it, but yeah. Okay. The child said he thought the police were there because the original parents called and thought something happened. He said the more he thought about it, he thought it didn't make any sense because they hadn't visited at all with the biological family for a while. And then he said he saw on the news that Orson was missing. He said he watched on a tablet that his dad called the police. He said his dad lied about Orrin and he didn't know why they said Orson was missing too. Then they took a recess for lunch after that video was over. But wow, holy manoli. That's it. That's what happened. I, I always thought we kind of knew. I think we all kind of knew that Orrin was gone before Orson was. How he was gone, we weren't sure. But it sounds to me like he was so badly abused. Somebody had mentioned malnourished in some of the stuff that we've looked at. And so from all of that, from the beatings, from being malnourished, he just passed in his sleep. The little thing just passed in his sleep. No wonder he was crying all the time. He was in pain or he was hungry. Oh, it breaks my heart. And then Orson, I just feel like not because they were worried maybe that Orson would say anything, but maybe they were worried more about the biological family. So it was easier to get rid of him as well. I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating. I'm just kind of like throwing it out there. What do you guys think? Put it in the chat. Tell me what you guys think about all that. But this is the first time that we've heard this information that it's gotten out. So we kind of knew that one of these kids, especially the oldest, was going to let the cat out of the bag. All right. When they get back from lunch, they bring up Wanda, Trezell's mom. So they call Wanda West, Trezell's mom, and she's testifying via Zoom. She wasn't physically there. She came in on webinar. So Smith asked her about her children and her grandchildren, and he showed her photos of Wanda's house and a photo of Orrin and Orson, Damien and Devin. And the photos is from the date. Oh, that's from the date that they were adopted, April 26, 2019. So wait a minute. They adopted all four of them on the same day? See, that just is weird to me. That's weird to me. I mean, maybe they were already fostering them, but it just seems odd that those overseeing these children, the officials overseeing these children would be okay with just adopting four of them out at one time like that. That's a lot. So Smith asked Wanda who lived in the home in 2020, and she said herself, her husband, and her son, Josiah. Wanda said she would visit Trezell and Jacqueline a few times a year. In 2019, she would visit and also help babysit. Wanda said she stopped visiting after COVID out of the caution for her and her husband's health. She is describing the children, and she said that Orrin was very quiet, and Orson would cry when meeting new people, but eventually he would open up. Wanda said that she agreed to help the couple with moving by watching the four older boys while the couple gathered and moved items from Bakersfield to Cal City. She rented them a U-Haul truck and her a car for her to go to Cal City to watch the kids. And Smith asked her about arriving to Cal City on September 18th, and she said she arrived and asked the boys to help her get stuff out of the car. Wanda said when she entered the home, she did not see Orrin or Orson. So then Smith asked, "Well, did you ask where they were?" And she said she did not. She said she thought they were with Jacqueline's mom. She she just assumed that they were going to be with Jacqueline's mom. So Wanda said that throughout COVID, the family would drive by to say hi. She said the four older boys would get out of the van to go say hi, and Trezell would tell her that Orrin and Orson were in the van. Okay, so they're talking about the night that they're moving, right? And so he asked her on the night that they were moving, "Did you hear Trezell and Jacqueline come home that night?" And she said, "Yeah, she heard them come in the back, go into the kitchen, then go lie down." She said she didn't see Orrin or Orson while they were in the kitchen. She said she went back to bed, then woke up after she got a reminder from U-Haul to return the truck by 9. Sh She said that that was incorrect because the return time should have been 2 o'clock. But she had plans to wake up early anyway to unload the truck so that she could get it back on time. She said she watched the boys she watched the 4 boys while Trezell and Jacqueline unloaded the car that morning. Now, the 4 boys are the 2 biological sons and Damien and Devin, the other 2 adopted sons. Wanda said that morning on September the 19th, the only vehicles at the home were the U-Haul and her rental car. She said the van was back in Bakersfield. Why? 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 You've got 2 people that could drive. You've got Jacqueline and Trezell. All right, let's just all unpack this together, okay, guys? You're moving from one house to another. You know you got a lot of junk to move. So if you've got a van that you can pile full of crap and take it the same time that you drive the U-Haul, especially going a long distance, you're going to do both those vehicles because it's going to allow you more time. It's just common sense, right? So why did they leave that van in Bakersfield? What was in the van? That's where I'm going with it. What was in the van? Wanda said during this process she did not see Orrin or Orson, and after the truck was unloaded, she and Trezell returned the U-Haul to a location in Cal City and rented it for another day. Wanda said on September the 19th, she decided to drive the 4 boys around, stop by a credit union, and then she took them to McDonald's. She said when we got back to the house, Trezell and Jacqueline left in the U-Haul for Bakersfield again. Wanda said on September 20th, they were focused on working on the home, unpacking. Okay, so now we're on day 3 of them unpacking. She said by that time, they had returned the truck, and now they're just unpacking everything at the Cal City home. Wanda said on that day she did not see Orrin or Orson. She said she went home that day sometime around 4 p.m. She took Trezell back to the Lotus Lane apartment so he could pick up the van. He got right in the van as I dropped him off, and as I'm leaving the apartment complex, he's leaving it behind me. Now, Wanda previously testified that she assumed Orrin and Orson were staying with Maria Martinez at the Lotus Lane apartments during this time. From the timeline of her dropping off Trezell and leaving the apartment, it doesn't seem like he went to Maria's apartment at all. Right? So then he started asking her about December 5th. And he said, "You sent Trezell a text message on December 4th asking what time he would be coming the next day." And she said, well, she didn't recall that. But she said he was probably going to be bringing the dog over. Wanda said she was trying to figure out Christmas gifts for the family. She said she got ropes for everybody, but she couldn't find sizes for Orrin and Orson. She said she asked Trezell to find them pajamas in the same color for the boys. In a text message on December 16th to both Trezell and Jacqueline, Wanda asked for a picture of the whole family in their robes by the fireplace. And at that point, she was getting upset. And she said she never got it because the boys disappeared before Christmas. Wanda said she was supposed to watch the 4 older boys from December 19th until essentially New Year's Eve. So they're not going to spend Christmas with their mother and father? What the what, y'all? What? I'm confused. Okay. She said when they dropped the boys off, Orrin and Orson were not there. She said Trezell and Jacqueline may have said the babies were in the van, but she doesn't know. She said she saw the other boys getting out of the van. She said they had their backpacks with their things, and each of them had their own blanket that they like. She said the boys ran out of the van and began playing in the yard, and she had to tell them to put their things away. She said they stayed outside for a bit, and Smith asked if Wanda went with the couple to a credit union with them, and she said she did so that she could get them gas money. I'm shaking my head right now, y'all. These people are just worthless. Just worthless. She did say that Jacqueline told her the babies were asleep in the back of the van, but it was dark and she didn't see them. I just find that weird. And I find the other thing I find weird is she didn't wanna go in and, like, peek in the van and say hello to the little ones, or she didn't push Jacqueline to go get them and just come bring them in. I just wanna see them. I wanna see the babies, you know, because that's isn't that what grandmothers do? Wanda said she didn't see the whole back. She said she really only looked out the window, and the van seats are high, so she didn't see the very back. Okay, so she did go look in the van. So then so Wanda was in the front passenger seat, but she doesn't remember if she got out of the van. Smith said surveillance video shows a passenger getting out of the van, and she said that then that would have been her. Okay, so she got in the van, and supposedly the boys are in the back asleep, but she doesn't see them. My question is, was it daylight outside? Because it's not the tinted windows aren't that dark. And she said that the music in the van was playing also, so she didn't hear the boys either. She knows more than she's saying, you guys. I think Jacqueline's mom knows more than she's saying too. Wanda said the entire trip was around 10 to 20 minutes. She said she hopped out and that was it. She said she didn't say goodbye to the babies because the couple said they were sleeping. Mm-mm-mm. So Smith finally asked her, he said, well, did you make any attempt to verify they were in the back there since you hadn't seen them in 10 months? And she said, no, I did not. Uh-uh. Grandma's going to want to see them babies, you guys. Why? Why did she not at least take a peek in to see them? No, something's not right. They knew. Wanda said she learned about Orrin and Orson's disappearance when Bakersfield police arrived at her home, and she starts tearing up again. She says she doesn't recall everything police said. She said the next morning, officers came to interview the other boys in her kitchen. She said around a month after the 4 boys were taken, she, Trezell, and Jacqueline were allowed visitation once a month. At a prior hearing, Wanda said the boys weren't in the vehicle, so she assumed they were with Maria. So they just caught her in a lie. Timothy Hennessy, who is Trezell's lead attorney, got up and he started questioning Wanda. She was getting upset, recalling the night police came to interview the children. Hennessy asked her if during the interview she was the woman heard crying in the background, and she said yes. When she was talking to the officers that night, they told her what they believed conflicted with what she believed about her son. She said she still wanted to do everything she could to cooperate. And Hennessy said, well, you didn't want to get in the way of the investigation, right? And she said, no, never. And then he asked if it was hard to remember things back then. And she said it was really hard because she didn't think she needed to make note of every little thing that happened. So Hennessy asked Wanda when the last time she saw the kids, not in person. She said she doesn't do FaceTime or video chats. So then he asked her if her and her husband attended a birthday party in July of 2020, and she said her husband got that wrong. She said that birthday party was in 2019. Wanda said she and her family knew people who died from COVID, so they took it very seriously. So he asked her when the family would do a drive-by. Wanda clarifies this was not like a drive-by shooting. She said so then the courtroom laughed, I guess, and Hennessy clarified his question. Wanda said she believed the boys were supposed to come down on December 19th and then were supposed to go back for Christmas on the 23rd. She said she thought she and her husband were supposed to go up for New Year's. Okay, so now she's just changed her story again. Or maybe he's just had her clarify things. Isn't that what defense attorneys do? Okay. So Wanda said Jacqueline used to have a lot of photos of the kids. She said the couple wasn't sure about having photos of the kids posted to Facebook. I get that. Hennessy asked if she thought it was unusual for the couple not to give her photos of the kids. She said yes, they normally did not give her photos. She said she wanted the Christmas photo, though, because she was so happy for them in their new little house. So then he was asking her about the week Wanda went to Cal City to help watch the older boys while the couple moved from Bakersfield. And she reiterates she did not see Orrin or Orson that whole weekend because she believed they were at Maria's, Jacqueline's mom. Wanda said she didn't watch all 6 of the boys for several reasons. She said they were not potty trained at the time, and she said they cried a lot and it was really hard if she had all of them. If one more person in this damn family talks about these kids crying a lot, I'm going to scream because, in my opinion, there was something wrong for these children to be crying the way they were crying. Maybe it could be mental. Maybe it could be. But I think it was physical as well. And nobody did a damn thing about it. Wanda said when they came on December 19th, while she was out talking to the couple, she initially forgot she was supposed to go to the credit union with them. So then he asked her if she wanted to get custody of the kids, and she said yes, because they're her family. Wanda said she remembers Aiden talking to a caseworker about the case. She said officers would ask her to try to get Trezell to admit to something. She said they told her the stories weren't lining up. So Hennessy asked her about going to the van on September the 20th. And she says, again, it was dark by the time they got to the Lotus Lane apartment. Okay, so it was dark outside. So they clarified that it wasn't daylight. So that's the reason she couldn't see in the back of the van. And I mean, I guess, you're talking maybe, I guess they think they're in the third row, but I would think, I don't have children, but usually, don't you put the babies in the very front? Maybe not. I don't know. I would just think you'd put the babies in the baby chairs in the front because it's just easier to access them in the front than it would be to all the way in the back. But, I guess every parent has their preference. So then Smith recalled Officer Brian Hanson to the stand. And Hanson had, now remember, he's the very first, I think he was the very first witness. He's the main officer on from the get go. They started showing an aerial map of the Aspen Avenue neighborhood where the Wests lived. And Hanson had visited the home across the street during the investigation. Remember, we just talked to that guy. His name was Hernandez. Smith asked Hanson if he had seized surveillance video from the home, and Hanson said no. Hanson also went to a Dollar General in Cal City to retrieve a video. He said he did see in the video Trezell entering the Dollar General on December 19th. Okay, so Miss Alexis Torres Stallings gets up to do the cross on Miss Detective Hanson, or Officer Hanson. What is he, detective? I want to make sure I get it right. Officer Hanson. Okay. She asked him if he had hair in 2020. He said he did not. She asked if he had facial hair. He said he did. Torres Stallings says the neighbor described the officer as having hair and no facial hair. Okay. I'm confused by that, but okay. She asked why they didn't seize the video from the neighbor's home, and Hanson said it was their intention, but it just never happened. You guys, oh my gosh, this is awful. This is awful. She asked him if he told Wanda and Philip West that the West children were living in a military garrison type situation and that they were malnourished, and he said he did not. Then she concluded her cross. All right, so then Nasser, who is the assistant defense on Trezell's side, gets up and does his cross, and he asks Hanson about not retrieving the video again. And he said, "Well, did you instruct anyone to get the video?" And he said, "No, I did not." Gosh, it's awful. And then they got their little "no further questions, Your Honor," and they got to walk away after that, right? That they drop that bomb and walk off. All right, now we're going to talk to now the social services lady comes up. So they bring up Zanya Barton, and she's the supervisor for social services. She was the lead forensic investigator interviewer. She described how they conducted all their interviews. She says that the way she conducts the interviews can be different than law enforcement because she will ask open-ended questions, and sometimes children see a badge and then they can get scared. So she said their questions are general questions until the child makes a disclosure, and sometimes they walk out of the room without any information. She said if a child does disclose something regarding the investigation, they will proceed by asking, "Tell me more." She said the focus is to get the child to tell their story. She said they avoid yes or no questions because that can be a forced question. The child will answer yes or no either way. So then she's the one that was asking the questions to the little one that we're just talking about. So they play that recorded interview, and in the video, Barton is speaking with one of the couple's adoptive children on December 22nd, 2020. I think this is the oldest. In the interview, Barton tells the child she doesn't know anything about what's going on with their family. Barton asked the child about birthdays and holidays. She asked about living in Bakersfield. The child said he lived in the house with his brothers and his parents. He doesn't say Orrin or Orson at first, but brings them up later. She asked what happened to Orrin and Orson, and the child said Orrin went to stay with Jacqueline's mom, Maria. She asked the child if he hadn't seen Orrin or Orson since they moved. The child said yes, but they're supposed to come back. She asked how he knew they were coming back. He said it was because they had bunk beds made for them. So this might be the younger child that they're talking to then, unless the kid's lying. The child said his brother told him the bottom bunks were for Orrin and Orson. Yeah, this must be the youngest adopted son. Or, sorry, this must be the youngest biological son. The child said he didn't know where the boys were, but he knew they weren't with Grandma Maria. Did y'all catch that? He knew they were not with Grandma Maria. The child said he wanted Orrin and Orson back because his brothers didn't play with him anymore, so he wanted to play with them. So then in the video, she walks out of the room. Then they bring up another video, a different one. And in this interview, she's with one of the West biological sons. So could be that that first interview was with the adoptive boys. The child tells Barton that he just celebrated a birthday, and Barton asks, and guys, I'm sorry I'm all over the place on this. It's just hard to tell when you just have audio and no visual. The child tells Barton he just celebrated a birthday, and Barton asks who was with him for his birthday. He lists everyone except Orrin and Orson. Barton asked about their vacation with their grandmother, and he said he likes going to grandmother's home. So she asked the child why he came to talk to her. He said he doesn't know. She asked him where he lives now, and the child said he moved to a house in Cal City. So Barton asked the child who lived with them in Bakersfield. The child mentions Orrin and Orson. Barton asks where Orrin and Orson went, and the child says they went to their own home because they cried a lot. That to me just seems like everybody's making a big deal about those kids crying a lot. So the parents were complaining about it in front of the other kids. I don't know. I just think that a child doesn't know unless they're told something like that. Barton asked why Orrin and Orson cried a lot. The child just said that they did. He said when they cried, their dad would spank them. The child said his dad would spank so that it hurt but wasn't hard. The child said he only remembered one time his dad spanked his brothers, and there was, oh my goodness. Y'all ready? The child said he only remembered one time his dad spanked his brothers, and there was blood on his butt. The child said that time his dad had used the metal side of a belt. Oh my gosh. The child said it only stopped when his dad told them, I guess he's talking about the crying. The child said it only stopped when his dad told them to shut up, and they did. When that video ended, Smith said, I have no more questions. And Jacqueline's attorney, Alexis Torres Stallings, got up to do her cross. And she asked Barton if the goal of these interviews is meant to be a fact finding mission. And she said yes. She asked if CPS does its own investigating. And Barton said yes. And Torres Stallings asked if there's any time when CPS will not investigate. And Barton said only if law enforcement is taking the lead and asked them not to. Then Torres Stallings asked about the history of forensic interviewing and if they work in a team for forensic interviews. And she says, yes, they do. She said the initial interview was asked for by the FBI. Barton said the Bakersfield Police Department was not involved in these interviews. She's not sure if another social worker was involved. So Torres Stallings asked her when she conducted the interview if she believed it was a criminal matter. At the time that she was conducting the interview, did she believe it was a criminal matter? And Barton said the FBI did not request these interviews for a criminal matter. Barton said the interview requires a building of rapport with the child, so her tone will have some kind of emotional tone. She said it would be off-putting to the child if she were emotionless. So Torres Stallings asked her about the suggestibility in children. And Barton said she hasn't done any kind of training specifically to suggestibility in children. That doesn't sound good. But it doesn't sound good. But if the jury liked the way she spoke to the children in the interviews, then I think we're okay on that question. Barton has done child abduction training. Part of this was learning about the importance of getting the child's picture out and speaking to other children related to the missing child. So, what she is trying to explain to them is that when I was doing all this, it was a missing child case. We didn't feel like these children were no longer alive. So, Torres Stallings asked Barton if she was aware of the last time Maria Martinez said she had seen the children. Maria Martinez, again, is Jacqueline's mom, and Barton said no. Torres Stallings asked Barton if she was aware of the interviews police did with the children before she spoke with the children, and she said she was not aware of them. So then she asked Barton about the belt, and Torres Stallings asked if the children were checked for any marks or abrasions when they were taken to the Jameson Center. Torres Stallings asked Barton if she was aware that the children's intake sheet did not record any marks, and Barton said she was not a part of the intake recording. She doesn't do that piece. So Barton says that when interviewing children, sometimes you have to change your tactics because each child is different. And she said that this was the first missing persons forensic interview that she's done. Oh, great. This is awesome. Why? This case is like just, it couldn't get any worse on our side for the prosecution side. It really couldn't. It could not. Barton said while one of the boys was with their resource parent, the child saw his parents on the news. Oh, uh-oh. And Barton said the parent told a social worker who told law enforcement, who then requested a follow-up interview with the child. Torres Stallings asked if Barton had had any contact with the social worker before the second interview, and Barton said possibly. And Torres Stallings asked if Barton was aware of more details in this case when conducting the second interview, and she said yes, she was. Apparently, she learned about this through text messaging, right, from other social workers. But something about her phone being upgraded with the county, the phone the county gives her, when it was upgraded, all the text messages regarding the case with the social worker, none of those transferred over. I think you could still get those, though. They're probably still on the old phone. But, again, just another unlucky thing that happened. Torres Stallings asked Barton if she knew the other social workers' text messages were turned over. Barton said she assumed that they were, but she has not seen those messages. So then she started asking her about the messages between Barton and the social worker regarding an alleged smell in the West's van. and she asked her if she was aware that there was no forensic evidence found in the van, and Barton said she's not sure if she was aware of that before the interview. Barton said when she interviewed the child on December 28th, she believed he had not been truthful during the December 22nd interview. And then Smith came back up to redirect, and he asked her why she believed the child was not being truthful, and Barton said because of his body language. Barton said during the second interview she believed the child was more forthcoming and open. Now, I don't know, I guess there's some more questions here from Tora Stalling. So she said, and I'm wondering if she's saying news outlets. And Bartlett said, yes, I was. And she asked her several questions as far as like about how she gathered information. And Smith objected at that point. And then the judge had to clarify. He's like, look, he tells the jury that this questioning is not to determine if the children were being truthful or not based on Barton's beliefs. He says that this questioning is so the jury can determine for themselves if they believe that Barton's beliefs about the investigation influenced her interviews with the children. And that was it. And they're out until the morning at 9 a.m. So yeah, 2 days in a row, 2 days in one. I kind of like doing 2 days in one. Well, I'm floored though. So the baby felt he passed away in his sleep. You guys, we hear it all the time. When they said that these children are found, usually when they're found and it's an abusive case or whatever, and they're found in their beds like that. They pass away in their sleep. They've endured so much, their little bodies just can't take it anymore. I think you could easily say here that we don't think that Orrin's death was premeditated, but Orson's may have been still. We don't know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'd love to hear your feedback on what you guys are thinking about the case. It's tough. It's tough doing a case like this and kind of doing a play by play and not really. I don't really. There hasn't been a lot of interest. At least I haven't gotten a lot of people watch these videos, but I know that there are several of you that have been watching them religiously, and I want to thank you for that. And I want to let you know that you're the reason that I keep doing this because otherwise I would have stopped by now. But a couple of you guys have reached out and said other YouTubers had started it and never finished it and said they couldn't do it anymore. It's just tough trying to do a play by play on and listening in. I'm trying to multitask as I'm listening, and then I go back and I look at the Twitter notes, and I end up at the end of the day giving you guys more from that than I do my own notes. But I am addicted to the Letitia Stout trial too. And that's probably why I don't get these videos out quick enough because I can't stand it. I have to go in and see what's going on with that every day too. It's driving me nuts. I watch her trial over on Icky Mel's channel. If you guys have ever, or I'm sorry, it's not Icky, it's Icked, Icked Mel, Ickedmel. So you guys go, if you like to watch trials, he's funny. And during breaks, he has other things that they talk about. So I recommend him there. Alrighty then. You guys have a wonderful evening. And so today's Wednesday night. So we're going to have trial Thursday and Friday. So I will probably do the update. I'll probably drop Thursday and Friday on Saturday. Okay. So I'm going to drop the update from Thursday and Friday on Saturday. Just so you know, I haven't given up on you. I'm still here and we're still going forward. You guys have a blessed evening. Take care of yourself and we'll talk soon.